Crystal, there's a lot of talk about sovereignty and secured party creditor and all this A4V and all this stuff. And there's a lot of people, part of the reason we want to put this video out is there's a lot of people that are being enticed to file paperwork to claim that they're sovereign, but they don't really know the whole picture. So I hope that from this video and this interview, people who are on this wavelength who are researching this will actually see the whole picture of how one can assert their sovereignty, how one can be their own authority and not have the laws of the fictitious corporate United States have to apply to them. So, Crystal, would you like to introduce yourself? Or?
Yeah, hi guys. I'm Paramount Security Interest Holder for all property and collateral, both registered and unregistered, belonging to the defendant, Crystal Mullins. I have a lengthy introduction, I know. But that's what happens, I guess, when you study with Gordon Hall.
Crystal, what would that mean with what you just said? What would that mean in layman terms? Like I think I just heard you say secured party creditor.
No, yeah, okay, so let me break it down and say it a little slower. I am Paramount Security Interest Holder. Okay, so basically, you don't own your car, I'm sorry, and you don't own your house, and even if you think you do, I'm sorry, but you don't, and that's why you pay taxes on it. The government owns everything. They just give us privileges to use their stuff and securities in their stuff. We have a security interest in our collateral. I have an interest in where my collateral is stored and how well it's stored. I want my TV dry. I want my body healthy. So we have an interest in our collateral, yet we're not our collateral, and we don't own our collateral. The government owns everything.
Do you know why is that?
Well, there's a lot of history to it. There were 3 declared bankruptcies, and consecutively we lost a right during each one. We lost a right and gained a right. So as we were debtors and refused to pay our debts to, say, the King of England, who loaned us money so that we could fight off like Britain or whatever it was, we said, no, we don't want to pay you. We're just going to declare our own independence. We were debtors and we refused to pay our debts. So when we did that, the king said, okay, fine, declare your independence, but we're still going to own you, and we're going to create the Virginia Corporation, the Virginia Company, which became the first state of Virginia, where they started to give every individual who was born in the United States a corporate name and number so that we would be liable for the debts of the United States. There's a lot of history to it, but basically each time we lost a right, we gained something else. And in the long run, we ended up with unlimited credit and owning nothing. We have unlimited credit to buy everything, but it's all the government's. Make sense?
Basically, because there's no money of substance, I've heard Jack explain, there's no gold and silver, no money of substance. You can't really pay for something and 100% own it because you never really paid for it with real money. You just passed around Federal Reserve notes, so that's kind of a benefit or a privilege. So therefore, the government still has an interest in everything that you've purchased.
Yeah, what you're doing is you're trading in debts and credits. Okay, so if you want to pay for something with your debit card, we know that money comes from the bank account, right? But each time we sign, we're creating new funds. We can pay that way, or we can pay with Federal Reserve notes. And what does that do? That just sets the debt off to the U.S. government. That says, oh, don't worry, my big brother is good for the money. I don't have any credit, but Big Brother does. And who's going to tell you no, they're not going to take Federal Reserve notes? Nobody I know.
So that's very interesting that you say that, because when you think of dollars, they're just paper and ink. And if you look at the top, it says Federal Reserve Note. So what's the difference between a Federal Reserve Note, a piece of paper, like a notepad, says $20 on it, or Monopoly money? And what happens is I have found is that people have just agreed that the dollars, the Federal Reserve Note, are worth something.
Okay, well here's the difference. A piece of paper with $20 written on it doesn't have the 5 things that it needs to be a legal monetary document. And a Federal Reserve Note does. Okay? You have to have account numbers. You have to have who the money's going to and where the money's coming from, right? It says on there, United States Treasury, debt, what is it, like, as this is good for all debts, payable to whoever, good for all debts. The United States Treasury says it's good. It's got a date on it, it's got a signature, and it's got an account number. So long as your document has a date, the corporation that the account's going to be debited from, which would be the United States Treasury if you're using your Social Security account to set the debt off, the whoever the company's being paid to, which is usually right there on the charging instrument, which is going to be the warrant they serve you, and your corporate name and your Social Security number and your birth name and your Social Security number with dashes and your signature, and that gives them permission to debit this account for whatever charges they have on the name. So there's lots of ways to pay a debt.
Something else I think that you said was very interesting was that how you have your vehicle and you can even have it paid off and have the title to that vehicle. But let's say, for an example, it's a hot rod or it's a rice rocket, something that has been souped up with thousands and thousands of dollars put into it, and you get caught one too many times racing that vehicle down the street, the police will take that vehicle and they will crush it. And how is it that they can do that, you know, if it's your vehicle and you have
because
to it?
They can do
my research,
whatever they want.
within my
Okay, first of all, they can do whatever they want. If you come racing your hot rod down my public street and my children are playing in the yard,